Most people go through life thinking they are in control of their minds, when in truth, it is their minds that are controlling them. They wake up every day and immediately fall into the same cycles of thought as yesterday, the same worries, the same doubts, the same inner stories about who they are and what is possible for them, and because these thoughts feel automatic, they mistake them for truth. But the reality is, they are not truth. They are habits, mental habits, patterns that repeat so often that they feel permanent, when really, they are just familiar. Now here's the key. You cannot change what you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot control what you will not first observe. That is why awareness is the very first step to power. Without awareness, the mind is like a wild horse, dragging you in every direction it pleases. But the moment you step back and begin to notice the mind, to watch it instead of being swallowed by it, you shift from being a passenger to being the driver. You create a space between you and your thoughts, and in that space lies freedom. Think about it. How often do you catch yourself worrying about something that hasn't even happened yet, or replaying an old conversation over and over, as if repeating it will somehow rewrite the past? That's the mind on autopilot. That's not you choosing, that's your programming running. And here's the danger: if you don't wake up to it, you will live your entire life inside that loop. Awareness disrupts the loop. It's like turning on the light in a dark room. The moment you shine awareness on your thoughts, you realize they are not who you are. They are simply passing clouds in the sky of your mind. And once you see that clearly, you can decide, do I want to feed this thought? Do I want to give it power, or do I want to let it pass? That choice right there is the beginning of mind control. Philosophers have spoken about this for centuries. The Stoics taught that it is not events themselves that disturb us, but our interpretation of those events. In other words, the mind is the filter, and awareness allows you to examine that filter. If you don't look at the lens you're looking through, you'll always mistake the distortion for reality. But if you become aware, if you pause and notice, you gain the ability to clean that lens, to sharpen it, to decide what kind of vision you want to live with. And here's where it gets practical. Awareness isn't some mystical idea that belongs only in philosophy books or meditation halls. It's something you can practice in the smallest moments. When you're about to lash out in anger, stop and notice the heat rising in your chest. When you feel doubt whispering in your ear, pause and recognize the story it's trying to tell you. When fear grips you about tomorrow, catch yourself imagining problems that don't yet exist. In those tiny pauses, you have just broken the automatic pattern. And in that break, you regain choice. This is why people who practice awareness, whether through mindfulness, journaling, or simple observation, begin to feel like they are living more deliberately. They no longer react to life blindly. They respond to life with intention. And that difference between reacting and responding is everything. One keeps you chained to the past. The other gives you power over the future. Now I want you to consider something powerful. The mind will always try to pull you back into comfort, into the known. It will whisper, this is who you are. This is how life has always been. But awareness allows you to answer back, no, that's just who I've been in the past. I choose something different now. Awareness is not about fighting your thoughts. It's about exposing them. Because once the light is on, the darkness cannot survive. And let me tell you something. You don't need to fix every thought. You don't need to win every mental battle. You just need to notice. Noticing is victory. Why? Because noticing places you back in the seat of choice. It transforms your mind from being your master into being your servant. So if you want to begin controlling your mind, do not start with grand strategies or complicated routines. Start with awareness. Start by observing yourself in real time. Watch your thoughts as they come and go. Watch your impulses rise and fade. Watch your emotions shift like waves in the ocean, because the one who is watching is always greater than the thoughts being watched. And here's the truth. The mind is a powerful tool, but a dangerous master. Until you become aware of its patterns, it will run your life for you. But the moment you shine awareness on it, you begin to run your life for yourself. Awareness is the spark that lights the fire of control. It is the first step, and without it, no other step is possible. So the question you need to ask yourself is simple. Are you going to keep living on autopilot, letting your mind dictate your destiny? Or are you willing to wake up, to become aware, and to take back the power that was always yours? Because the secret is this: awareness is not just the first step to controlling your mind. It is the step that changes everything. Once you've awakened to awareness, once you've taken that first step of noticing your thoughts instead of being consumed by them, you begin to understand something even deeper. Your thoughts are not just idle noise in your head. They are architects. They are builders. They are the quiet designers of the life you are living right now. Every single thought carries weight. Some people dismiss this idea because they think thoughts are invisible, untouchable, insignificant. But think about this for a moment. Every invention, every achievement, every revolution, every dream that has ever changed the world started as nothing more than a thought in someone's mind. A thought is a seed, and what you choose to think repeatedly, what you choose to dwell on, eventually becomes the garden of your reality. Now here's the truth most people don't want to face. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. If your mind is cluttered with negativity, self-doubt, fear, and excuses, it will show up in your actions, in your relationships, in your results. You can't escape it. You can't think failure and live success. You can't think small and expect to live big. Life will always mirror the direction of your dominant thoughts. And let's be clear, it's not about random thoughts that pop in and out of your head. Everyone has flashes of doubt or fear. What matters is what you continuously feed. It's what you rehearse in your mind every day, the story you repeat to yourself when nobody else is listening. That's the script your life will follow. If you spend your time imagining obstacles, focusing on what could go wrong, or replaying your mistakes, don't be surprised when your life bends in that direction. The mind doesn't differentiate between imagination and reality. It builds on what you give it. This is why the discipline of thought is so powerful. When you deliberately plant thoughts of strength, courage, faith, and possibility, you are creating an inner reality that the outer world eventually aligns with. And it doesn't mean everything changes overnight. Seeds don't grow in a day. But with time, with consistency, what you've nurtured in your inner world begins to take form in your outer world. That's why you see people who carry themselves with confidence even before the success shows up. They thought it first, and the world caught up later. Psychologists have long studied this phenomenon. The brain has something called the reticular activating system, which acts as a filter for what we notice in life. Whatever thoughts you emphasize become the instructions for that filter. If you think constantly about failure, your brain will highlight every situation that confirms you're failing. If you focus on opportunity, your brain will scan the environment and show you doors you didn't notice before. Your thoughts don't just shape your feelings. They literally program your perception of reality. And this is why so many people remain stuck. They wait for their circumstances to change before they change their thinking. They say, "I'll be positive once I get the promotion. I'll believe in myself once I prove I can succeed. I'll think bigger once I see results." But it doesn't work that way. The results don't come first. The thoughts do. Life doesn't change until your thinking changes, because your thoughts are not passive. They are causal. They create. So let me ask you, what are you rehearsing in your mind every day? What kind of garden are you growing in your thoughts? Because whether you realize it or not, you are planting something. Every time you tell yourself, "I can't," you're planting a weed. Every time you tell yourself, "I will," you're planting a seed. And it's your choice which one takes root. Now don't misunderstand me. This isn't about blind optimism or pretending bad things don't happen. Life will test you. Struggles are real. But even in struggle, your thoughts decide whether you see defeat or whether you see an opportunity to rise. The same storm can either bury you or water the soil for your growth. It all depends on the thoughts you choose to hold. The secret most people overlook is that reality isn't just happening to you, it's happening through you. The way you think colors everything you touch, every choice you make, every step you take. And when you shift your thoughts, you shift the direction of your entire life. So if you want to change your world, start with your words to yourself. If you want to live stronger, think stronger. If you want to see bigger, think bigger. Because you cannot escape this law. What you repeatedly think, you will eventually live. And the question I leave with you tonight is this. Are your thoughts building the life you desire? Or are they building the very walls that are holding you back? Because at the end of the day, your reality is nothing more than the echo of your thoughts. Once you understand that your thoughts shape your reality, the next challenge becomes this. How do you direct those thoughts? How do you keep them from scattering in 100 directions, draining your energy and pulling you off course? That's where focus comes in. Focus is not just about paying attention, it is about mastering attention. It's the discipline of choosing where your mind goes and refusing to let it wander into places that weaken you. Most people don't lose in life because they lack ability, talent, or opportunity. They lose because they are distracted. Their energy is scattered. They start with passion, but then they get pulled into comparison, into worry, into every little distraction life throws at them. And when your attention is scattered, your power is diluted. You can't build anything great if your focus is fractured. Think of it this way. Sunlight spread out warms the skin, but sunlight concentrated through a magnifying glass can set a fire. Your mind works the same way. A scattered mind warms nothing. A focused mind ignites change, and here's the truth. Focus is not something you're born with. It's not a gift some people just have while others don't. Focus is a muscle. And like any muscle, it only grows if you train it. At first it feels difficult. Your mind wants to wander. It craves stimulation. It chases every notification, every piece of gossip, every imagined problem. But the more you practice bringing your attention back, again and again, the stronger your focus becomes. Over time, it stops being a fight, and it starts being a habit. Now, focus is not only about what you give your attention to, it's equally about what you refuse to give your attention to. Every time you say yes to a distraction, you are saying no to your own growth. Every time you dwell on someone else's success instead of building your own, you're feeding envy instead of focus. Every time you obsess over the past or worry about the future, you're draining the energy that could be shaping the present. Focus is as much about elimination as it is about concentration, and this is where discipline comes in. Because, let's be honest, the world is designed to steal your focus. Every platform, every screen, every voice is competing for a piece of your attention. If you don't take control of your focus, the world will take it for you. That's why discipline is non-negotiable. Discipline is you drawing the line and saying, my attention is my power, and I refuse to give it away cheaply. Philosophically, focus is freedom. Because when you control your focus, you control your inner state, no matter what chaos is happening outside of you. You stop being pulled by every emotion, every distraction, every circumstance. You choose your direction, and you walk it with intention. And here's the beauty. When you do this consistently, your life begins to align. Your energy, your time, your decisions, your result. Everything starts pointing in the same direction. That alignment is what creates momentum. Think about the greatest athletes, the greatest leaders, the greatest creators. What sets them apart is not just talent, it's focus. When everyone else was distracted, they stayed locked in. When others gave in to fear or doubt, they kept their eyes on the target. They trained their focus until it became unshakable, and that is why they achieved what others only dreamed of. Now I want you to ask yourself, where is your focus right now? Is it on your purpose, your growth, your vision? Or is it scattered on things that drain you, on what people think, on what you can't control, on distractions that add no value to your life? Because the quality of your life will always match the quality of your focus. And here's the challenge. Start training your focus in small ways. Put the phone down for an hour and give your full attention to your work. Sit in silence and train your mind to be still. When your thoughts start spiraling into negativity, bring them back to possibility. When you feel overwhelmed, narrow your attention to the next step in front of you. Those small acts of discipline may not feel powerful in the moment, but over time they transform you. Because the truth is this: success, peace, growth, all of it depends on where you put your focus. Whatever you magnify in your mind expands in your life, and if you want to live a life of power, you must develop the discipline to focus on what matters and ignore what doesn't. So the choice is yours. Are you going to let your focus be stolen by distractions? Or are you going to harness it and direct it toward building the life you deserve? Because in the end, your future will not be decided by how much potential you have. It will be decided by how well you focus. Now, once you've learned to direct your focus, the next challenge is mastering what shows up inside that focus, your emotions. Because let me tell you something, controlling your mind isn't just about controlling thoughts. It's about knowing what to do with the emotions those thoughts create. And here's the truth. If you don't learn how to master your emotions will master you. Think about it. How many people sabotage their own success, not because they lacked ability, but because they couldn't control how they felt in the moment? Anger made them say something that burned a bridge. Fear stopped them from taking the opportunity that could have changed their life. Doubt convinced them they weren't enough, so they quit before they ever saw what was possible. Emotions are powerful. They can lift you higher than logic ever could, but they can also drag you lower than reason can rescue you. Now, let's be clear. Emotional mastery does not mean suppression. Too many people confuse control with denial. They think controlling their emotions means pretending not to feel fear, pretending not to feel pain, pretending not to feel anger. That's not control, that's avoidance. Real control means you allow yourself to feel, but you do not allow those feelings to dictate your direction. You don't silence your emotions, you steer them. The Stoic philosophers used to say, "We cannot control the wind, but we can adjust the sails." That's exactly how emotions work. You can't stop anger from ever showing up. You can't stop fear from whispering in your ear. You can't stop sadness from knocking at your door. But you can decide how to channel them. You can adjust the sails. And the person who learns how to do that becomes unstoppable. Let's take fear as an example. Fear is the most common prison people live in. But fear itself is not the enemy. It's the interpretation of fear that matters. Fear can either paralyze you or energize you. Some people feel fear and stop. Others feel fear and recognize it as a sign that they're on the edge of growth. The emotion is the same, but the response is different, and the difference comes down to mastery. Or take anger. Left unchecked, anger destroys relationships, careers, reputations. But that same anger, when guided, becomes passion, drive, fuel for justice, energy for change. Anger is energy. Emotional mastery is about converting it into something useful instead of destructive. Even sadness has its place. Sadness can break you, yes, but it can also deepen you. It can make you more compassionate, more connected, more appreciative of joy when it returns. The key is not to drown in it, but to learn from it, to channel it into growth instead of despair. See, emotions are like fire. Put fire in a fireplace and it warms the home. Let fire run wild and it burns the whole house down. Emotions only become destructive when you give them control without direction. But if you place them inside the structure of awareness and focus, they become the very energy that pushes your life forward. This is why emotional mastery is mental mastery, because your mind and emotions are inseparable. A single thought can trigger a flood of feelings, and a single feeling can drive a lifetime of decisions. The person who does not master emotions will forever be tossed around by circumstance, but the one who does will walk through storms with calm in their eyes and fire in their heart. And let me say this, it takes practice. Emotional mastery is not built in the calm moments of life. It's forged in the heated ones. It's when you want to explode, but instead breathe and respond with wisdom. It's when fear grips you, but you choose courage anyway. It's when doubt screams at you, but you decide to act with faith. Those are the moments when you build mastery. So don't think of emotions as something to fight. Think of them as raw power. Power that without discipline can destroy, but with discipline can elevate you to levels of strength you didn't even know you had. Because at the end of the day, controlling your mind means controlling the forces that move it. And emotions are the strongest of those forces. Learn to guide them, and you become the master of your mind. Fail to guide them, and you will forever remain its prisoner. So the question you must ask yourself is simple. Will you let your emotions run your life, or will you run them? Because the one who rules their emotions rules their destiny. If mastering emotions gives you strength, then mastering your inner dialogue gives you direction. Because the truth is, the most important conversation you will ever have in your life is the one you have with yourself. Not the speeches you make in front of others, not the opinions people share about you. It's the voice in your head, the constant whisper that either builds you or breaks you. Think about it. You've been listening to yourself longer than you've listened to anyone else. Every day, from the moment you wake up, you're engaged in a conversation with your own mind. And here's the thing. Most people are completely unaware of how destructive that conversation has become. They don't even realize how often they talk themselves out of opportunity, how often they insult themselves, how often they rehearse doubt instead of possibility. Now, let me tell you something powerful. Your inner dialogue is the script your life will follow. You cannot speak defeat to yourself and expect victory in your life. You cannot call yourself unworthy in private and expect confidence in public. You cannot whisper limitations inside your own mind and then live with freedom outside of it. Life doesn't work that way. Your outer world is an echo of your inner voice. This is why people with the same talent, the same potential, the same resources end up with completely different results. One believes they can, the other convinces themselves they can't. The difference is not ability, it's dialogue. One chooses to speak possibility into themselves, the other chooses to rehearse failure before the battle even begins. But here's the good news, that dialogue can be changed, and when you change it, everything else shifts. This is not about lying to yourself or pretending problems don't exist. It's about choosing the story you tell yourself about those problems. It's about reframing. Instead of saying, "This is impossible," you tell yourself, "This is difficult, but I will find a way." Instead of saying, "I always mess up," you tell yourself, "I am learning, and every mistake is a lesson." Instead of saying, "I'm not enough," you tell yourself, "I am growing into more every single day." You see, the voice in your head will either be your enemy or your coach. And if you don't train that voice, it will default to the old programming: fear, doubt, criticism, negativity. Most of that programming didn't even come from you. It came from parents, teachers, peers, society. voices from the past that you adopted as your own. But awareness gives you the power to recognize that those voices are not truth. They are just habits. And just like any habit, they can be broken and rebuilt. One of the most effective ways to rewire this dialogue is through intentional self-talk. Some people dismiss affirmations as silly, but they miss the point. It's not about chanting empty words. It's about planting new seeds in your subconscious. It's about feeding your mind a different script until it becomes natural. And make no mistake, your mind is always listening. If you repeat negativity, it will internalize it. If you repeat strength, it will internalize that too. The voice you hear most becomes the voice you believe, and this is where gratitude also comes in. Gratitude shifts the inner dialogue from lack to abundance. When you train your mind to notice what is working instead of only what is missing, you change the entire tone of your inner conversation. Gratitude silences the voice of complaint and strengthens the voice of possibility. Now, let's be honest, changing your inner dialogue is not easy. The old voice will fight for survival. It will try to remind you of every failure, every shortcoming, every time you fell short. But that's when you remind yourself that voice is not prophecy, it's memory. And you are not defined by memory. You are defined by choice. You can choose a new conversation at any moment, because at the end of the day, your life is moving in the direction of your dominant dialogue. If you speak defeat, you'll live defeated. If you speak courage, you'll live courageous. If you speak growth, you'll live expanding. The power is already inside you. It's in the words you repeat to yourself when nobody else is around. So I'll leave you with this. Stop rehearsing the language of limitation and start rehearsing the language of possibility. Stop letting your inner voice tear you down and start training it to build you up. Because the secret to controlling your mind lies in this truth. The voice you listen to most is the voice you will live by. And if you want to change your life, you must first change your conversation with yourself. Up until now, we've talked about awareness, about shaping your thoughts, about focus, emotions, and the dialogue you carry inside. But here's the truth that pulls it all together. None of it matters if you're not consistent. None of it matters if you don't commit. Because controlling your mind isn't about a single moment of clarity or one powerful burst of motivation. It's about showing up for yourself every day, again and again, until control becomes who you are, not just something you practice when you feel like it. See, anyone can be disciplined for a day. Anyone can focus for an hour. Anyone can speak positivity to themselves once in a while. But real mastery doesn't come from what you do occasionally. It comes from what you do consistently. The mind doesn't change because you touched it once. The mind changes because you touched it every day, until it bends, until it learns, until it submits to your leadership. Think of it like this. The gym doesn't change you because of one heavy workout. The gym changes you because you keep showing up, even on the days you don't want to. The same goes for the mind. Meditation doesn't transform you in one sitting. Journaling doesn't change your inner world in one entry. Focus doesn't become natural after one day of practice. It's the repeated action, the steady drip, the daily choice that builds the foundation of mastery. And here's where so many people go wrong. They want quick results. They want to control their mind today and wake up transformed tomorrow. But the mind doesn't work like that. The mind is stubborn. It resists change. It clings to old patterns. And the only way to break through that resistance is through persistence. Every day you show up, you weaken the old program. Every day you stay committed, you strengthen the new one. That's how mastery is built, slowly, silently, consistently. Now commitment is not just about discipline, it's about decision. You have to decide deep down that you are no longer willing to be a prisoner of your own mind. You have to decide that no matter how many times you fall back, you will rise again. You have to decide that this journey is not optional, it's essential. Because commitment doesn't mean you never stumble, it means you never quit. And once you pair that commitment with consistency, something remarkable happens. The practices that once felt heavy begin to feel natural. What used to take effort begins to feel effortless. At first, awareness is something you have to force. With time, it becomes second nature. At first, positive dialogue feels fake. With time, it becomes your default. At first, focus is a battle. With time, it becomes your strength. Consistency turns practices into patterns and patterns into identity. Philosophers and psychologists alike remind us of this truth. Habits shape character, and your character shapes destiny. So if you want to change your destiny, it begins with the habits of the mind you commit to daily. But let me be clear, consistency is not glamorous. It's not always exciting. Sometimes it's boring, sometimes it's repetitive, sometimes it feels like nothing is happening, but the power is in the invisible. Just like water slowly shapes stone, your daily commitment shapes the mind. And one day, when you least expect it, you realize you're no longer fighting the same battles. You realize the focus is stronger, the emotions steadier, the dialogue kinder, the awareness sharper. That's the reward of consistency, the quiet transformation that sneaks up on you, until one day you look back and barely recognize the person you used to be. So here's the final truth. Controlling your mind isn't about finding a secret trick. It isn't about a single breakthrough moment. It's about the daily commitment to show up and the consistency to keep going, no matter what. And I'll leave you with this. Power is not built in a day, it is built daily. So ask yourself, are you willing to commit? Are you willing to be consistent? Are you willing to practice until mastery becomes your nature? Because if you are, there is nothing your mind can hold you back from. Control is not a gift. Control is earned, and you earn it one committed, consistent day at a time.